And over the course of next 45 minutes, from Asian Paints to Century Ply to Kajaria Ceramics, we would be understanding all the aspects which tell you which way the home improvement segment is moving. So with great pleasure, let me now bring on board the Managing Director and CEO of India's biggest paint company, Amit Syngle, to talk about why and how sustainable are the trends in the paint segment. Mr. Syngle, fantastic to have you back on ET now. Thank you for joining us. Mr. Syngle, we are talking to you almost a month after Dussehra and 3 weeks after Diwali. When we spoke last, there was a renewed optimism in your voice because the business had picked up. What is your understanding on how things are shaping up for Asian Paints post the festival season?
Okay, thanks for inviting me on the channel. It's great to be with you talking about what's really happening to the business. As we see it, the second quarter results were really quite heartening, and at the end of first half of the year, we were the fastest growing company in the industry. So I think that was pretty good in terms of how it went. We saw a very good festive season combined with the marriage season. I think it gave it a big fillip in terms of what we saw in terms of the demand in the market, and we felt that the demand was possibly even higher than the pre-COVID levels to that extent. And I think it has been very, very good. What we see even after Diwali, while there has been a lot of say around in terms of cases coming back and therefore, the demand slowing down and there is a paranoia in the market. But what we see is that the demand is still kind of consistent. It's going on. It's something which possibly slowed down a little bit during the week of Diwali when there were holidays and shops were closed. But I think what we are seeing is that the demand really continues. People are very, very positive, and what we see, both the retailer and the consumer confidence seems to be very, very high. And therefore, our confidence is also pretty buoyant in terms of what we see.
When we spoke last week, extensively used the word pent-up demand. But looking at your comments on the demand, can I say that fears that pent-up demand was a driver in the last quarter is over, and now what we are staring at is sustainable and structural demand? Is my assessment right?
Yeah, I think that assessment is pretty good, because what we see is that now this is a new demand which is coming up. This is something which people are getting into the renovation of their houses. They are getting into the home improvement. We see a renewed interest around homes, given the fact that the relationship with the homes has been changing a lot and people have been staying in homes. So what we see right now is basically a lot of new demand which is coming in. People want to kind of do their homes. It's a big socializing place to that extent. And we see lots of new renovation, new flats, new things which are coming in the market, which is something which is giving us to believe that this is something which should be sustainable as we kind of go ahead, because things are looking positive. The vaccine news is there, and I think the whole market is therefore opening up in a good way.
Is there a change in terms of the demand vector, and do you see that demand is opening up from tier 2 and tier 3 pockets traditionally where you have never seen demands? What I'm trying to understand from you, sir, is that is the pattern of demand changing? While the aggregate picture is great, but within that there is a change.
See, there is definitely a change if you study the pattern around in terms of what's really happening, October, November, and we see ahead. Is that, the contributions from the various tier cities is definitely changing. We find that there is definitely a resurgence at the T1, T2 level, which is coming, and this is coming to a near COVID level to that extent. And these were the cities, if you remember, this tier was kind of lagging earlier, and we see definitely a resurgence happening very, very strongly here to that extent. And not only that, what we are seeing a very strong change is that the premium to luxury end has started to kind of do well. And that is something which is a very welcome change, because we felt that given the category where it is discretionary, it would be that people would kind of come and do the basic maintenance stuff, which is there. The fact that it is moving into the premium and the luxury space is indicative enough the fact that this is new demand. This is something which has started to come from T1, T2 cities to that extent. Even metros, which were really lagging very strongly, have kind of seen a strong resurgence in the last 2 months. And this is something, as I said, is very positive in terms of the change in terms of the demand as we kind of see ahead. And I think this is definitely sustainable.
What about specific brands like SS and Sleek that have been a work in progress for you? You've expanded the number of stores, dealers. Tell us about the plans there, how you expect these businesses to fare as well in the current environment.
Okay, I think overall, both bath and sanitary, we have been, in terms of the overall pie, we see it's a small business in terms of what we have been pursuing. What we see this year is that Q1 we were definitely affected, but from Q2 onwards, we are seeing a very strong, demand which is coming. In fact, modular kitchens spread across even the tier 3, tier 4 cities has been very strong, and we are finding that is a business which is really taking off very well. And we see that as we kind of go ahead, both Sleek and bath, we've introduced a lot of new products, including sanitary, which has kind of come in. And in both these businesses, given the fact that we see some trending in terms of the home improvement and the home renovation market going up, we see that we are in for a good solid growth this year in terms of what we will get. And we are pretty hopeful that as we kind of go around, in the coming years, home improvement would be a very big mainstay from Asian Paints as we go ahead. In this regard, we've also launched many new other categories like the furnishing, the furniture, the lighting, and and we feel that today we are kind of coming in the whole home improvement zone far more strongly, so that it is a consolidated effort from Asian Paints in terms of getting into the homes in a very strong way.
Okay. In terms of the segments as well, and you've seen a host of new product launches, that you sort of put out into the market fairly aggressively. Which are the segments that you really see the most potential in now going forward? Because during this time, there may have been some discounts, special prices, but given the kind of trends that you're describing, as we move into the new year, where do you see maximum opportunity?
We see a very strong opportunity in the entire area of home, and that I think is the area which Asian Paints is strongly appropriating in terms of going ahead. So whether it is about the walls or between the walls, I think that is the whole space which we are appropriating in a very strong manner. So what we see is that today, as we go ahead, growth with respect to the premium and the luxury categories regarding the whole painting area, which is the home decor area, coming in very strongly. And that is a trend which will kind of go ahead. Along with that, we see waterproofing as a very strong zone, because it's a very strong solution Asian Paints is offering in the market, which kind of completes the entire painting process in a very strong way, gives you an assurance of longevity and gives you a durability of the product in a very strong way. So I think these are sectors which we think will be very strong as far as the entire paint category goes. Along with this, the whole health and hygiene area, I think well-being is a very strong area within homes in terms of what we are looking. And therefore, I think a series of solutions there, antibacterial paints, SaniSure services which offer sanitization at home. I think these are very strong trends which we see where people are getting in. And we don't see that today, once the COVID scare is over, that people get back to full normalcy to that extent. Yes, I think a bit of a focus might come down, but I think the larger trend of well-being will continue. And similarly, when we look at the area of home improvement, we think the kitchens and bath are very strong zones in terms of which will continue. Any house, new house which is coming up, the amount of monies which go in these two areas is pretty high. And that is two zones which we are looking in a very, very strong way. At the same time, the area of whole area of fabric, furnishing and furniture is very, very exciting. And we have made a very strong foray in that area. And that is also a very strong upcoming area, which we think really embellishes the home, really kind of gives your home a very strong look. And therefore, given the connectedness with the home, which is happening, home becoming a very big socialization space, I think these trends would come in very, very strongly as we see in the coming times.
Sure. While there's no taking away from the fact that, Amit, everyone wants a beautiful looking home. But I wanted to understand if the consumer, especially post the pandemic, has gotten more price conscious, given that you have a large presence in the economy products. Are they seeing more demand as opposed to your high-end offerings?
What we must understand is that, if you look at the market dynamics, it's like a pyramid. The bottom of the pyramid obviously is very, very broad, and that basically, constitutes the large amount of value offerings, value-based emulsions, which kind of come into the fore. But as we kind of go up the pyramid, we have a very strong premium and the luxury segment, which is there. What we saw in quarter one, and largely was the fact that people were kind of looking, and they were in the bottom segment of the pyramid in a very strong way. However, what we have seen in quarter two, and now especially in the last 2 months, that the premium end and the luxury end of the market has started moving in a strong way as well, which kind of gives us two indications. One is that people are exercising discretion in terms of looking at not only maintenance, but looking at decor of the house, so that they want a premium looking house, a good look, which kind of comes in to that way. The second thing what we see is that the metros T1 and T2 have started contributing to the demand, which kind of also has given us a boost with respect to the premium and the luxury segment in terms of going ahead. But having said that, what we really feel is that I think the pyramid goes in tandem. The bottom of the pyramid is a very, very strong area, and we look at really educating the customer and telling the customer that you have to enter the organized, value-based emulsion markets and really upgrade. And therefore, upgradation is a very strong initiative in terms of what we are taking. But as we go ahead, what we see is that all paradigms, the economy, premium, and luxury, I think all of them have started to move in a very strong way.
You lay great emphasis, Amit, like you were earlier highlighting as well, on health and hygiene. And post the pandemic, that's really, taken space in our mind share as well, if I can call it that. Is that where Asian Paint's next leg of disruption going to be? You're already in the antibacterial segment. You've already diversified into sanitizers as well. Is the next paint category perhaps going to be more leaning towards health and hygiene products?
As we see it, health, hygiene, well-being, I think we see into future. And I think it's a reality that today what we see is that the whole area of health, hygiene is something which will become mandatory, given the fact that people are becoming so conscious about their health and well-being in a very big way. So therefore, I think today as Asian Paints, one thing which we are committed, which is the core purpose where we exist, is bringing joy to people's lives. And one of the inherent things in terms of bringing joy is that it is not only about the beauty which you see, but I think the beauty which is inherent in what you really feel in a very strong way. So what we are now doing is that a range of solutions for the customers, which is about providing health and hygiene, like the antibacterial, or in terms of even the sanitization, or whatever you can think in terms of going forward, not only coming as a product, but coming as a service. The whole area of at home is becoming very, very important. And what we see is that today, in the health and hygiene category, while we launch a spate of new products, we are kind of concentrating in terms of the services bit, so that we are able to kind of bring a lot of these initiatives at home to the consumer and really bring joy to their lives.
Okay, Amit, great to have you on the show, and thanks for giving us all the insights into how home improvement as a category is what consumers are now focusing on. And of course, Asian Paints garnering the large pie within that. Great to speak with you.
Thank you for inviting me on the channel. It was great speaking to you as well.